Gambrel roofed cottage is the small farmhouse that was produced by Tiny Toy in Providence, Rhode Island. I acquired this from some men who had worked for Tiny Toy quite a while ago. And it only has 2 rooms, but if you lift up the roof, you'll find there's a loft. We've made the loft. There wasn't one up there. This is for men because they don't need to have as much comfort as the rest. But I think I'll get a bed to put in there. But see, they're going to have to crawl because they can't stand up very high. But downstairs, there's a big kitchen on the right, which is being used in this case for people from the Shaker community to make bread and food for the poor, as well as themselves. Now, on the left is a little meeting house room itself with a fireplace, because that was the only way there was to heat. And there's pews in there, so the Shaker meeting was silent. They danced outdoors. They had dances. In some of the books from the Shakers, you'll find them doing their Shaker dance in pairs, women together and men together, not couples. But anyway, this lady down here on the right was given me by Harold Priest's mother. I don't know if she made it, but she had it. And my friend made her a cat.
She's doing her Shaker
dance. That's right, shake. You shook out your sins and you brought up the good things and threw out bad things. But she's an Eldris. She's Eldris Josephine Jolson. Jils. Are you writing this down? Or it's on the tape? Oh God,
you can spell it.
What?
It's going to be written down.
I know.
How's it spelled again?
Capital Jilson, I think. It might be 2 L's. I'll have to look it up. But anyway, she was the eldest, one of the eldresses here. She was at both Harvard and at Shirley, and was still with the Shakers when they disbanded, when they gave up Harvard and Shirley, and the Shakers that were left went up to Canterbury or to Maine, to the Shaker communities there. It was dying out, as early as the 1910 period, but certainly by the World War I period. But she was already dressed, except for the cat, and she really looks like a Shaker, even more so than some of the others that they all look alike. But anyway, I thought she would have been the elders who would have conducted the service. And so this is quite a comfortable little meeting house.
No, it's actually a Tiny Toy house?
It was a Tiny Toy cottage, a farmhouse, actually.
The farmhouse?
Yeah.
Built by Tiny Toy?
Yeah.
About how old is it?
Well, the houses in the early catalogs with the Colonial Mansion and all the others, it's the least expensive. And you see that goes up. You have that nice little stone wall. And the doors, they've never been painted in, see? And windows. So the left-hand side is the meeting house, and the right-hand side is the kitchen where they cook food for the poor. Mrs. Eldris, Josephine Jolson. Mrs. Savard knew her, and she went from here to Canterbury, I think, and then to Maine. Long gone, of course. She was very much loved by everybody in every community. Yes, facilities were primitive and crude, and this represents necessary, as it was sometimes called, or an outhouse. One is for ladies and one is for gentlemen.
Brothers and sisters.
Brothers and sisters, that's how it says. I think that's what it says on the door, isn't it?
Talk about what's inside. There's little dry herbs on the wall.
Yes, because they hung all these places with fragrant herbs, because, as you know, if you didn't live in the day of outhouses, they weren't very pleasant places. They had a tendency to be odoriferous.
Who made these?
I think the same fellow that made did the work on that. It was up in Maine.
Mhm. Does it really kind of go with that house?
Yeah, they went with that house.
Mhm.
Mm.
Okay.
And the two
And the
hats.
hats?
The two hats were made by Shakers down in Connecticut. I think that community is gone now, but they were made for dolls. And somewhere I've got a doll, a full-size doll that was made Shaker dress, and I've got to find it, because she has a Shaker bonnet. They have one just like it over in the museum at Harvard. That's still over